All right, are you ready for this?
Always ready.
Today, we're diving deep into a recipe I think you're going to love.
Oh,
Ghanaian meat pies.
sounds interesting.
And trust me, these are not the pot pies you grew up with.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
We've got Sweet Adjeley's YouTube video all queued up, ready to unlock the secrets of this dish.
Her videos are always so full of life.
They really are.
So much passion.
Exactly, and that's what we're here for today, right?
Yeah, to learn.
To understand what makes these meat pies so special.
Let's get into it.
So let's start with the dough,
Okay.
which has this intriguing ingredient,
Hmm,
Cook brand margarine.
interesting.
Now, I've used plenty of margarine in my day,
Of course.
but I have to ask,
Go ahead.
what's the significance of this particular brand?
Well, that's a great question.
Yeah,
While tradition and accessibility likely play a role.
right, because it's probably a familiar sight in many Ghanaian kitchens.
Exactly.
Okay.
But there's also a technical aspect to consider.
Oh,
Do tell. Think about the qualities you want in a pie crust.
flaky.
Yes, flaky.
Okay.
And that flakiness comes from the fat melting
Okay.
and creating steam pockets as the dough bakes.
Ah, I see.
Cook brand, with its specific formulation and perhaps a higher melting point, could be contributing to that perfect texture Sweet Adjeley achieves.
So it's not just a random choice.
Right.
It's a deliberate decision based on the science of baking.
Precisely. It highlights how even seemingly simple ingredient choices can be rooted in a deep understanding of culinary techniques.
Oh, I'm officially intrigued.
Good.
What else is happening in this dough?
Well, Sweet Adjeley really emphasizes hydration.
Uh-huh.
She uses both water and evaporated milk.
Interesting.
And I think that's a key takeaway here for anyone wanting to make these pies.
Okay, I get that hydration is important for any dough,
It is.
but is there a reason for using both water and milk?
Yes.
Couldn't you just use one or the other?
You could, but you might not get the same results. The water creates steam, which is essential for that light, airy texture.
Right.
But using only water could make the crust a bit tough. The evaporated milk adds richness and tenderness, creating a more balanced final product.
So it's all about finding that perfect harmony,
Yeah.
that sweet spot where you get the lift and the flakiness from the water, but also the tenderness and richness from the milk.
Exactly. And this balance is something you see throughout Ghanaian cuisine, a thoughtful combination of ingredients to achieve a complex and satisfying flavor profile.
Fascinating.
Right.
I'm starting to see how this one recipe can give us a glimpse into a whole culinary tradition.
Absolutely. And we're just getting started.
Okay, before we move on to the filling, there's one more thing about the dough that caught my eye.
Okay.
The press and slide technique she uses to seal the pies.
I love that technique.
I have to admit, I've never seen anything quite like it.
It's quite clever, isn't it?
It is.
Not only does it create a secure seal, preventing any leakage during baking, but it also speaks to a broader principle in pastry making,
Oh.
the importance of even pressure.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure.
What do you mean by even pressure?
Think about it. When you apply even pressure, you ensure that the dough is sealed consistently along the edges.
Right.
This prevents any weak spots where the filling might burst out.
I see.
It also helps the pie maintain its shape as it bakes, resulting in those beautifully crimped edges that Sweet Adjeley's pies have.
So this press and slide technique isn't just about aesthetics.
No.
It's about ensuring structural integrity. It's like a little engineering feat built into the recipe.
Exactly. And this attention to detail, this understanding of how different techniques impact the final product, is a hallmark of skilled baking.
All right, on to the filling.
Okay.
Now, I have to admit, when I first saw that she adds potatoes to the corned beef,
Yeah.
I was a bit surprised. I wouldn't have thought to put those two together.
It might seem unusual at first,
It does.
but it's a brilliant move.
How so?
Corned beef can be quite salty,
Yeah, it can.
and the potatoes help to balance that out.
So the potatoes act as a sort of flavor moderator,
Exactly.
tempering the saltiness of the corned beef.
Right.
Interesting. And I imagine they add a nice textural element as well.
Absolutely. Potatoes bring a certain hardiness and substance to the filling,
I can see that.
making it more satisfying.
More than just corned beef.
Right. It's not just about flavor. It's about creating a textural experience that complements the flaky crust.
And what I find interesting is that she doesn't add a lot of extra seasoning to the filling.
I noticed that too.
It seems like she's really letting the flavors of corned beef and potatoes speak for themselves.
You're picking up on a key element of Ghanaian cuisine.
Oh.
And that's the emphasis on letting the quality of the ingredients shine through.
Instead of masking them with a bunch of spices.
Exactly. Instead of masking the natural flavors with a lot of spices, The goal is to enhance them, to create a harmonious blend that celebrates the essence of each ingredient.
So it's a less is more approach.
I like that.
A sort of culinary minimalism where restraint is key.
Exactly. And this philosophy extends beyond just meat pies. You'll find it in many Ghanaian dishes, where a few carefully chosen ingredients are combined to create a symphony of flavors.
Okay, I'm starting to get a real sense of what makes Ghanaian cuisine so special.
It's pretty great.
But there's still one part of the process that has me completely baffled.
Mm-hmm.
The fork holes.
What about them?
Why on earth does she poke holes in the top of each pie before baking?
Yes.
Is it purely decorative?
It might seem like a small detail, but those fork holes are actually crucial to the success of the pie.
Really?
Remember all that steam we talked about?
Yeah.
The steam created by the water in the dough?
Yeah, that's what gives the crust its lift and flakiness, right?
Exactly. Now, imagine what would happen if that steam had nowhere to escape.
It would explode.
It would build up inside the pie, creating pressure that could cause it to burst open in the oven.
Oh, I see. So the fork holes act as little vents, allowing the steam to escape and preventing a pie explosion.
Precisely. It's a simple but brilliant solution that ensures a beautifully baked, intact pie.
Wow, there's so much more to these fork holes than meets the eye. It's like a tiny detail that reveals a deep understanding of the science of baking.
Absolutely. And it highlights the importance of not overlooking the seemingly insignificant aspects of a recipe.
Right.
Often, those little details hold the key to achieving the desired results.
This is incredible.
It is.
We're only halfway through the recipe, and I feel like I've already learned so much.
Don't you?
And the way Sweet Adjeley describes these meat pies with their perfectly moist crust and melt-in-your-mouth filling, it just makes me want to grab a fork and dive right in.
She's a master of her craft, that's for sure.
She is.
And her passion for Ghanaian cuisine really shines through in her videos.
Absolutely. There's a real sense of joy and love in her cooking that is truly infectious.
I agree.
But before we get too carried away with daydreams of delicious meat pies,
Right.
let's talk about the baking process itself.
Let's move into the oven, shall we?
Let's do it.
Now, this is where patience comes into play.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet Adjeley is very clear about not over-baking the pies.
Right. I mean, I've definitely been guilty of over-baking a pie or two in my time.
Happens to the best of us.
What happens if you don't get the timing right?
Well, think about what we're going for here.
Okay.
A tender, flaky crust and a juicy filling.
Mm-hmm.
Overbaking would dry out the filling and turn the crust tough and hard.
Yeah, that's no good. Nobody wants a dry meat pie.
Definitely not.
So what's the secret to getting it just right?
It's a combination of factors, really.
Okay, like what?
Oven temperature, baking time, and even the material of your baking sheet
Interesting.
can all play a role.
Okay.
Sweet Adjeley gives specific guidelines in her video, but it's always a good idea to keep a close eye on your pies as they bake.
Makes sense.
You want to see a beautifully golden brown crust, and the filling should be bubbling slightly.
So it's a bit of an art form then,
It is in a way,
finding that perfect balance.
but like any art form, it's a skill that can be learned with practice and attention to detail.
I like that.
You know, it's amazing how much we can learn from just one recipe.
Seriously.
It's like a window into a whole culture, a whole way of life.
Yeah, thinking about that, I remember at the end of her video, Sweet Adjeley says something like, "The love of God and family is life's greatest blessing."
Such a great quote.
It's a beautiful sentiment, isn't it?
It is, and it speaks to the heart of Ghanaian culture, where community and sharing are so important.
It makes me wonder, if there's a connection between that sentiment
Yeah,
and the way she approaches cooking.
I think there's definitely a link. When you cook for someone,
Mm-hmm.
you're not just providing them with sustenance. You're offering them a piece of your heart, your love, your culture.
That's beautiful. And, that act of sharing, that connection you create through food,
Yes,
that's a powerful thing.
it is, and it's something that's often lost in our fast-paced modern world. But when you slow down and take the time to prepare a meal for someone to share a table with them, to savor those flavors together, you're tapping into something ancient and primal, something that connects us all.
I love that.
It's like this simple meat pie recipe.
Yeah.
It's a gateway to a deeper understanding of Ghanaian culture, a culture that values community connection and the sharing of traditions.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
I agree.
We're not just learning how to make a delicious dish. We're exploring a whole world of culinary traditions and cultural values.
And it makes me think, how many other culinary treasures are out there just waiting to be discovered?
Oh, tons. I bet countless.
And countless. I'm sure every culture has its own unique culinary traditions,
Yeah.
each with its own stories to tell.
So what have we learned today?
A lot.
We've unlocked the secrets of these incredible Ghanaian meat pies.
We've gone beyond the surface, exploring the why behind the what.
I like that.
Why specific ingredients are chosen, why certain techniques are employed. It's that deeper understanding that elevates your cooking, don't you think?
Absolutely. We're not just going to make this recipe, we're going to understand it.
That's the goal.
And that understanding opens up a whole world of culinary exploration.
Precisely. And speaking of exploration, here's something to ponder as you embark on your meat pie journey.
Okay, I'm listening.
How does this specific type of pie reflect broader themes in Ghanaian cuisine?
Good question.
Think about it. The use of hearty, readily available ingredients, the balance of flavors, the importance of sharing food with loved ones.
It's like this little pie is a microcosm of Ghanaian culinary tradition.
Precisely. So I encourage you to explore further. See if you can spot these same elements in other Ghanaian dishes.
Okay.
Do you notice similar techniques? Similar flavor profiles? It's a delicious way to deepen your appreciation for this vibrant cuisine.
It's like a culinary treasure hunt.
I love that.
I'm already hungry for more. This deep dive has been a delicious adventure.
It certainly has.
To all our listeners out there, get ready to roll up your sleeves, embrace the press and slide technique, and bake some incredible Ghanaian meat pies.
Yes.
And remember,
Be sure to share them with the people you love after all. As Sweet Adjeley reminds us, the love of God and family is life's greatest blessing.
yeah, I can almost taste them now.
I know, right?
Golden brown, flaky crust, juicy filling.
All those amazing flavors.
It's making me hungry just thinking about it.
Me too.
And you know, it's not just about the food itself.
Right.
It's about the whole experience.
Yeah.
The gathering of friends and family.
Liqueur.
The laughter.
Exactly.
The connection.
Yeah, love.
And I think that's what Sweet Adjeley's video captured so beautifully.
It really did.
It wasn't just about the recipe itself. It was about the joy of cooking, the importance of family and tradition, and the way that food can bring people together.
It was a reminder that even the simplest dishes can be infused with meaning and love,
Yeah.
and that those intangible ingredients are often the most important ones.
Absolutely. I feel like I've not only learned a new recipe today, but gained a whole new perspective on Ghanaian culture.
That's the beauty of food.
It is.
It's a universal language that can transcend borders and connect us on a deeper level.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for me to head to the kitchen
Go for it.
and start putting all this newfound knowledge into practice.
I wholeheartedly encourage it, and remember,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to experiment, to add your own personal touch to the recipe. That's how traditions evolve and new culinary treasures are discovered.
Great advice. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me.
It's been a pleasure,
It's been a truly delicious and insightful journey.
as always.
And to all our listeners out there, we hope you've enjoyed this exploration of Ghanaian meat pies as much as we have.
I hope so.
Now go forth and bake.
And share.
And don't forget to share your creations with the people you love.
Yes, spread the joy.
Until next time, happy cooking.
Happy cooking.